It's about I gotta say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
Being able to run as he shoots the moon to the fans here in Green
We
Bay.
did it!
That is a disgusting act by Randy Moss.
The Celtics are the balls.
It's a Super Bowl.
The Celtics are the balls. The Celtics are the balls. We did it!
Here we go. Stop from the touchdown.
This is BS Sports.
And we are back. Welcome in. Welcome in on a Tuesday evening. We're back for BS Sports. And I just got one thing to say before we get the show
The
started.
Celtics are the balls.
I guess I didn't say it, but
The Celtics are the balls.
the Celtics are the balls. They're the balls once again. The Boston Celtics just pantsed the Dallas Mavericks over the weekend. Although I guess they lost on Friday, but whatever. They pantsed them. They killed them. They did unspeakable things on national television over a 5-game series. They killed them. They killed them. We're going to talk about it. We're going to break down the final 3 games of the series since we weren't able to cover them last week. We're also going to talk Stanley Cup. Little update there. Final game potentially. Panthers up 3-1. They couldn't get the sweep, just like the Celtics. So the scriptwriters are saying, hey, we're going to have both teams win their championships in their home stadiums. So we'll see if Florida can get that done tonight. But, hey, it's hockey. Strange things have happened, although no team has ever come back from 3-0 since 1945, something like that. Maple Leafs did it to the Red Wings. What a great year that was. It was not. If I was around and a Red Wings fan, which I would have been, presumably, that would not have been fun. That doesn't sound enjoyable at all. But I also got to talk some Tigers. It's going to be probably a little bit of a shorter show. There's just, to be honest with you guys, there really wasn't that much that happened other than, I guess the finals. And I know to a lot of people that's probably big stuff, but there wasn't a whole lot for me to talk about. If you want me to just run down a bunch of rumors that I think are, I don't do that. I try to talk about news. Talking about rumors, I look for stuff that actually has something important. I'm sorry, but I don't care if JJ Redick is getting interviewed by the Lakers. Honestly, I would think I want him to get hired because I think he would fail miserably because he has never coached at any point in his life, and I think he would get absolutely destroyed. So, if anything, it would be really, really enjoyable for me to watch him fail in LA. But let's just get into it. Let's just jump into it. First of all, the Celtics. Let's see. It was Game 3. I was about to say first of all again. You can't even make this up, man. You have Jalen Brown, almost did it again. Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum in Game 3 combining for a 60 bomb. And Kyrie, he decides he's going to show up that game, but it doesn't matter because nobody else decided to play except for Luka. Look, the problem with Dallas this whole series, they just did not ever have the depth. Even with the Celtics playing just 3 guys off their bench, right? They didn't play. It looks like what's his name? Porzingis did not play. He's not included. But they got production from Sam Hauser. They got a shot from Xavier Tillman. Xavier Tillman, Michigan State legend, one of my favorite college basketball players from Michigan State. He got 3 points in the finals. And he was a +9 player. But on the other side of it, Derek Lively decided to have a decent game off the bench, 11 points, I guess, 10 rebounds or 13 rebounds. It's double-double. All right, decent stuff. But it was just, it didn't matter, right? And it wasn't like the Celtics needed that kind of a game from Tatum or from Brown, right? In this particular game, they needed it, but they didn't need it every game. And it just felt like the Mavericks basically needed masterpiece games, both on defense and offensively, from their superstars in Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. And Luka can't play defense to save his life. And frankly, neither can Kyrie. And when Kyrie was having, on and off games where he'd go from shooting like 0 from 3 to shooting, 30, dropping a 35 piece, it's like, that's not reliable. That's not helpful. All that's going to do is, in a way, it's like Kyrie's kind of in a lose-lose situation, right? Because let's say, he had this breakout game, but the fact that he had the breakout game by the time in a losing effort, right? In a game they weren't winning. And on top of that, he has this big game after they went down 2-0 and he was a no-show in those games. It's like, it's too little too late, buddy. It's hard enough to come back down 2-0, let alone come back down 3-0. So, look, they lose game 3. You go on to game 4 and the Mavs decide to show some life. And look, to me, and I was watching this game kind of on the side because I was just like, whatever, the Mavs are just killing them. 122-84. It's like, if you only saw this game, if like this was your first viewing of the NBA Finals, you would have thought the Dallas Mavericks were far and away the better team. And look, I guess for the Celtics in this particular game that they, were unable to complete the sweep, nothing was going right for them. Your highest shooter or your highest point production came from Jason Tatum, who guess who? 15 points. Like, not exactly a lights out showing from the forward one Jason Tatum, but it was just one of those games. Everything went right for the Mavericks, and nothing was going right for the Celtics. Weirdly enough, though, from their starting 5, the Mavs really didn't get that much. They got a lot from Kyrie and from Luka, but PJ Washington just 6 points, Gafford just 7, Jones 5, but they got production from guys on the bench. Your Derek Lively's and your Dante Exums of the world, who, by the way, at one point, as noted in last week's show, at one point, Dante Exum had more threes than Kyrie Irving in the finals with 1. Thought I'd let that out there. And obviously the game everybody's talking about, the elimination game. Celtics win it 106-88 at home. It's back-to-back years now where the champion wins the series at home. I always think that's cooler. I'm sure it's definitely cooler for the fans there. It's always kind of awkward when you see a team win on the road and it's like people are like booing you or like they don't want to be there. There's like 13 of your team's fans that actually traveled to the game. But hey, they got it done. And as far as Dallas was concerned, Kyrie is just, if you're going to make it to the finals, don't play Boston because Kyrie is going to embarrass you. He shot 3 for 9 from 3, which is, it's not great. Okay, it's not great. 33 or yeah, that's 33%, right? That, if my math serves me. It's not great. Okay, it's not great. And then 5 for 16 from the field in general is not great either. Very little presence outside of that. He had the 15 points. He had 3 rebounds, 9 assists. Luka, whatever. He had a double-double. Whatever. It's like, yeah, Luka puts up some good stats. Great. He didn't play defense. He played 43 minutes. Give him credit there. Played like the whole game. Same with Kyrie. He played, but with Kyrie, he played. But did you even notice him? Did you really? I'm just saying. Both of them were negative players on the court. Luka, negative 19. The guy, he refuses to play. He's like me, except I can't shoot. Really, me and Luka were very similar. I'm unathletic, and I can't shoot, and I don't play defense. We're basically, give me a Mavs jersey. How much does Luka make? I could, give me like a third of that, and I'll take. How much does he make? Luka Doncic contract. 5-year, $215 million. Yeah, give me like a third of that. I can live with that. Yeah, sure, whatever. Put me on. You know what you could do? I could be like Steven Izzo on Michigan State. You just put me in when the game is over, and maybe I'll draw a foul, and I'll probably just brick both the free throws. But either way, I'm like the victory anthem. Once I am in the game, that's how you know the game is over. But anyway, on the Celtics side of it, Tatum probably had either his best, if not his second best, depending on the game on the road where he dropped 31. He really did go off in this game. He had a double-double, 31 points, 11 assists, 8 boards, just a couple of rebounds away from the triple-double. He shot just 1 for 7 from 3, which is not great. 11 for 24 from the field is also not amazing, but I mean, hey, the guy got a lot of shots off, so he got a lot of points. 8 for 8 from the free throw line. So driving to the basket, drawing fouls. That's nothing to sneeze at. And obviously Jaylen Brown as well, 21 point showing for him. Kind of a nothing game from the bench. I mean, Porzingis had 5 points. I didn't honestly. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with all of you. I didn't even notice him. Like I really did. I was like, I heard that he was playing. I did not. I think I noticed him after the game when they were doing the trophies and they called him out, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. He was technically on this team. His legacy is going to be kind of weird, at least in terms of like around this particular team, because like he was not in the playoffs. He had like one good game in the finals, and then he was just like, you know what, my leg doesn't work. my leg it fell off, and I was running on a peg leg. He's like a pirate out there. But again, the thing that I've gone back to this is just that. Excuse me. It's just that top to bottom, this Boston team just had far more production and great quality players than Dallas did. I mean, like, PJ Washington's a good player, but he didn't show up. Okay, PJ Washington had 4 points. He had 4 more points than me, and he made as many threes as me. Okay, 0 for 5 from 3. You can't do it. You can't do it in a starting 5, especially not in an elimination game. And I know they're down 3-1. I understand. Teams usually don't come back down 3-1. Kyrie knows a lot about coming back from 3-1, but not this time. But I will say, I don't know if I saw it or if I just came up with it myself. This is how I think of things. This is probably the first time. Well, probably. This is the first time that Kyrie Irving helped lead the Celtics to a Finals championship. So hey, he said he was all for Boston. He was sticking with Boston. He's gonna be there for them, and he ended up being true. Please, he had like one good game, maybe two. I think basically just one. Like, here's the thing. So I want to kind of, and also Jaylen Brown wins Finals MVP, so people can continue to clown on Jason Tatum, which I'm fine with. I think it's funny. Speaking of clowning, we did it! Saw that live, and I was like, that's really. Did you practice that in the mirror? We did it! I bet you did, Jason. I bet you did. So now he's a permanent member of the BS Sports soundboard. So congratulations, Jason. Congratulations, Jason. We did it! We did it! Yeah, he's so happy to be on the board.
The Celtics are the balls.
The Celtics are the balls. That's right. But I wanted to make another point about this because I want to somewhat circle this to my beloved Detroit Pistons, and everybody loves the Pistons. Who doesn't love the Pistons? So here's a little fun stat for you. So the last time the Pistons won a playoff game was in 2008. Now, for those of you who are not good at math, I believe that is hold on. I think that's 16 years ago. Methinks? Yeah, that's 16 years ago. Okay. Now, the Celtics, prior to this championship, their last title was in 2008, 16 years ago. So basically, over a span of 16 years, the Celtics went from winning their last championship in 2008 and winning another championship. This is the second time they've been, by the way. Meanwhile, the Pistons have yet to win a playoff game in that span. The Celtics can go from championship team to championship team over a 16-year span. The Pistons cannot go from playoff game winning team to back to that. back to being a team that wins a playoff game. Why do I even still watch this team? Why do I even still follow the NBA? I should just be a Celtics fan. Because at least if I go through a 16-year pain with the Celtics, I can be like, you know what? At least I know in 16 years I'll win a championship. And another factoid about this, obviously not the Celtics, leading the NBA in championships over their long storied career franchise was 18. Which is absurd because the NBA has been a thing for 77 years at this point. I want to say 77, 70, 76, somewhere around that. So for like a seventh, or I don't know if the math is right on that. For a decent portion of the time, the Boston Celtics were the champions of that particular league. Now, granted, I mean, things have changed. The league is a lot more competitive than it once was. Shout out Bill Russell, 6 championships. Wasn't it 6? I think it was. I don't remember. Whatever. Shut up. This is not a history class, okay? Listen. I want to bring this to some Piston related thing. So, just to close this section out, if the Celtics can go over a 16-year span and go from championship to championship, and the Pistons' last championship was 20 years ago, so we've already beaten them in regards to that drought. So does that mean that basically, in order for the Pistons to get out of this, you know what we got to do? We gotta sign Kyrie Irving or something. We need to reverse curse ourselves. So the Celtics were in a down bad spot, right? Like they were doing. They sold off Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett to the Nets. They got all that draft capital. They bring in Kyrie Irving. You know, I think that was before. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember what the timeline was on that. They bring in Kyrie Irving at some point, and it just seems like, basically since that, things have gone well for them. I'm not suggesting that the Pistons go and get Kyrie Irving. However, if the Pistons getting Kyrie Irving, if there was some clear correlation and proof that if you sign Kyrie Irving and you have some middling years where, he inevitably disappoints you or whatever, and then sometime later you get to beat him in the final, I'll take it. Yeah, sure. I don't know how many more years Kyrie Irving's got left in the league. I mean, he's not exactly, slowed down necessarily, but he's not who he once was. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But yeah, I just can't believe that the Pistons traded Chauncey Billups. Why did they trade Chauncey Billups, man? Why did they do it? For not Carmelo. For Allen Iverson. You know what?
The Celtics are the balls.
That's how I'm concluding this section. You can't stop me. The Celtics are, in fact, the balls. Speaking of the balls, I just wanted to make a note of this because this is either back-to-back or... No, not back-to-back, but over a couple of weeks, we've had basketball legends passing away. Jerry West, the logo, dies at 86. Obviously, one of the most iconic basketball players of all time. You know what? Let's do a little bit of a Jerry West stat breakdown, because obviously, not only was he a great player, he was also a great GM, one of the architects of the Lakers there. But I mean, look, okay. When I just give you just the resume of things that he's done, this might take a long time. Bear with me. 14-time All-Star, 1969-1970 NBA scoring champ, 1971-1972 assist champ, 1972 NBA champion, 12-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Defensive, 1968-1969 Finals MVP, 1971-1972 All-Star MVP, NBA 75th anniversary team, and then obviously in the Hall of Fame. He multiple times or a few times he led the league. Obviously, we already talked about the score. He didn't have a year where he was not an All-Star. Now I understand it was the 60s and the early 70s. I understand. Very different. Game was different. Competition was different. I understand. But from just a pure volume standpoint, the guy averaged 27 points a game in an era where you didn't have the 3-point line. I'm not that's absurd. Like it's hard enough to average 27 points now when 3-point shooting is, so prevalent, right? And he was doing it before that was even an option. And then obviously he wins just the one championship with the Lakers as a player. But I mean, honestly, some of these numbers are obscene. In 1964, he led the playoffs in points with 40 points. 40 points a game he was dropping in 42 minutes played. Guy was dropping a point a minute in a league that didn't have a 3-point line. I'm just saying. Okay? It's absurd. It's absurd. But I wanted to also bring up Jerry West as the general manager. GM career. He led the team to 8 championships. Let's see. I believe he was. Yeah, here we are. He was the general manager for basically 2 separate dominant eras for the Lakers. Obviously, I think people my age associate him with the Shaq, the Kobe Lakers. But before that, he was the architect of the Showtime Lakers, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I could go on and on about the Lakers, and obviously the Pistons beat them in '89, and I will never let them live that down. But either way, 3 times. Let's see. We made it to the finals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 4 times. I mean, that's insane. I mean, he had a winning record at the end of his tenure. He was also apparently the GM of the Memphis Grizzlies. Didn't do much with them, but he was the GM of the Memphis Grizzlies for a short period of time. I didn't actually know that. This is my live reaction to that information. Okay. He was the executive of the year a couple of years. He's the executive of the year for the Grizzlies. And I guess they went 50-32. But they didn't lose. They didn't win a game in the playoffs. That's rough. Who was on that team? Oh, look at that old logo. So good. So good. Oh, Pau Gasol. Okay. Pau Gasol. Yeah, that's all I know. That's all I know from this route. Wasn't a huge Memphis Grizzly fan as a kid. But I want to say we had their pick, and that was the Darko pick. So that's fun. But look, one of the all-time greats just seemed like, totally iconic figure. Like the logo of the league. I don't even know who the logo of the other leagues are. I don't know who is the guy on the MLB logo, if it's anybody. Or the guy, I don't know if they still use it, the guy in the NHL logo. I know the NHLPA logo. I don't think it was ever a guy on the NHL logo. But I don't know. It's like, that you're an iconic figure when people, it's kind of like John Madden, where over, the decades and decades that John Madden or Jerry West were alive, you just had you had different eras of how people associated with this particular person. For me, I look at Jerry West as the executive, the guy who brought in Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal and, all these other superstar players to the Lakers in the early 80s, or early to late 80s and then the 90s. And on the other side of it, you also have people earlier on who remember him as a player and the iconic champion that he was with the Lakers and just, I mean, statistically, some of the crazy numbers he had. And then further, I guess you just have people who recognize him just as a logo. Like after he retired as a general manager in the early 2000s, he's just, okay, he's just the logo. I mean, he was the logo before, but it's like he just was the logo. And it, to me, like that just speaks to the level of, spread that he had on the game. And, it's a shame. I mean, back to back kind of losses for basketball legends, Bill Walton, and then we lost Bill Russell. I want to say that was, I don't know if that was this year or if that was last year. Honestly, I don't even remember, but like, just seems like we're losing a lot of really all-time great sports figures, sort of left and right. I want to say. I mean, like John Madden was a couple of years ago. That one was really, really tough. I was devastated by that. I would say devastated. I don't want to over exaggerate my level of sadness, but I was shocked. I guess you always assume some of these figures, the Jerry Wests, the Bill Waltons, the John Madden, you just sort of assume these figures are kind of immortal in a way, like they're always going to be around. But obviously, we know this is not the case. There's one death, taxes, and the piston sucking. Hold on, I might have gotten that wrong. But either way, just a salute to Jerry West and all of the things he did for the game of basketball, for the NBA. I'm not a Lakers fan, so I don't have that much of a attachment to him. I also didn't watch him. I'm not that old. Okay, I'm old at heart. I walk around with a cane and I yell at people outside for doing skateboarding. I do want to do that, but not because I'm a mean person. I just want to see what they would do if they would just continue to skate. It's like that guy isn't even that old. Why is he acting like he's 100 years old? And meanwhile, Ozzy Albies just hit a double there. That's probably going to score a run. Guys, I'm beginning to think the Tigers aren't very good. I'm just going to go out on a limb here. I'm just beginning to think they're not very good. But that's a triple. Wow. Casey Mize, another number 1 overall pick wasted. Great job, Al. And I was going to say, speaking of number 1 overall picks, we still got to talk about the Stanley Cup. Got to talk Stanley Cup. So, Panthers, let me pull up some of the stats here. Stanley Cup Finals. Panthers, they're up 3-1. Shot here to finish the job. I would imagine they're going to win the series. I know. Pretty crazy stuff. But I'm trying to find the thing. Here we go. I'm like, there we go. But why is that? Why? Okay, I was gonna say this is like terrible. But how many times can I say but? It was not going to be in a sweep. So game 3, they win 4-3. I believe it was a comeback, or maybe not a comeback, but I think they were up like 4-1. Edmonton kind of crawled back, wasn't able to do it. Bobrovsky has another great game. And then game 4 happened, and Edmonton said nobody sweeps the Edmonton Oilers in the Stanley Cup. Nobody. And they meant nobody because they went on a tear. They scored 8 goals, go up 8-1 in the game. Like, it wasn't great. I mean, like, there was a moment early in the first period where it was 2-1. Tarasenko gets a goal, but then you just had Holloway, McDavid, Nurse, Hopkins, Holloway. I don't even know who McLeod is. It was I don't even know who that is. I've never heard of this person. But It was a massacre. It was one of those games. It was similar to, funny enough, Game 4 of the NBA Finals, where everything was going right for Edmonton and nothing was going right for Florida. In that, in the finals, you had everything going right for Dallas, nothing going right for the Celtics. So, look, obviously, it's a big game for Florida. You're up 3-1, which means the odds are ever in your favor. You were up 3-0, and so again, it's like Edmonton has to win 4 straight, including this past game that they just won. So I guess now 3 straight in order to win the cup. And again, I mentioned it earlier in the show. Last team to do it was the Maple Leafs, so that goes to tell you just how long it's been since the team has come back down 3-0. And I just don't believe in this Edmonton team to do it. And I know that's such a shocking and hot take from me, but Florida is just the better team, and they've been the better team for basically the entire season. Like from a roster standpoint, Florida is just sort of too good. like too good for Edmonton, I should say. And that's not to say that Edmonton's bad, but it is to say that Edmonton is not as deep of a team as Florida is. I mean, like, the way I see it is, if you just go up and down the lines, short of that top of the line with McDavid and Draisaitl, right? And whoever else they got on that. I'm pretty sure Nugent Hopkins is on that line, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But basically, every other line, Florida is ahead. They just are. They have the better goaltender. I know Bobrovsky gets pulled in Game 4, but I honestly, he might have tanked his Conn Smythe chances with that, unless he has a shutout night tonight and just basically erases that, 5 goals he gave up or whatever it was. So, look, tonight, it's probably going to be Florida in a strangle fest. Now, here's what I will say. If Edmonton wins tonight, then we have a series. Then we can, if you're a Florida fan, if Edmonton wins tonight, I would say not panic, but concern. Major concern. Not like, burn, put your hair on fire, panic. You don't got to do that. But you don't want this going to Game 6 in Edmonton. And you definitely don't want it to be a Game 7 where it's anybody's game. And although you will have home ice advantage, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be known. First of all, Florida as a franchise already has no record of success whatsoever. They've been to the Cup several times. This is the closest they've ever been to winning it. So you got to finish the job. And I swear, if you let Canada get the Cup back when you were up 3-0, I will never forgive the state of Florida. I will never. And I like the state of Florida. Seems like a wonderful place. It's warm. Disney World, things. It's warm. Look, I'm from Michigan, okay? Warm weather is very important to me. We don't get what we're getting right now, which is a heat advisory. It is like 90 degrees outside. Actually, it might not be right now. It's 85 degrees, but we have a heat advisory, all right? Like, we don't get warm weather a lot, okay? And you can't let this happen. If you're Florida, do not let Edmonton come back and win this cup. Now, would it be one of the most iconic Stanley Cups and go down as probably one of the great, series in hockey history? Yes, it would. I don't want it to just let Florida get their first cup. You know what's sad? And maybe this is not all that sad to some people. When was the last Stanley Cup that was won by a team that actually is cold? like I guess Colorado. Colorado, but like every year. When was here's a better question. When was the last time we had a Stanley Cup in which both teams were coming from climates that are cold? I gotta look this up. Stanley Cup matchups by year. Let's see. List of Stanley Cup champions. Is this gonna show both teams or? Come on. Here we go. I think. Yeah, here we go. All right. So last year was Vegas and Florida, so that was 2 warm climate teams. So no. The year before that was Colorado against Tampa Bay, warm climate team, Tampa Bay. Then Tampa Bay against Dallas, 2 warm climates. Okay, we have St. Louis and Boston. St. Louis a warm climate? It's south. Oh. What's the average yearly temperature in St. Louis? Temp in St. Louis. Okay, this is by month. Can I see more? Can I see all months? Okay, you know what? It gets all right. It gets decently cold. It gets decently cold. You know, in December it's like in the 40s. January, February, it's high 40s. So it gets decently cold. All right. So 2019. So 5 years ago. I don't want to hear that sentence. That scares me. 5 years ago was about the last time we had 2 cold climate teams. What about before that? Now we just keep going. I guess point is the 2020s have been a decade it has been a decade of 2020s, but the roaring 20s too. The 2020s has seen a Florida-based team in every single Stanley Cup. What world are we living in? You can't have ice in Florida. Nobody plays hockey outside in Florida. I challenge you to find who is even from Florida that played hockey. Anybody? Anybody? Is there anybody currently in the NHL that is from Florida, at all? Actually, NHL players from Florida. Let's see. I guess Quinn Hughes. So the Hughes brothers, they're all from Florida. I know they all went to Michigan, but let's see. Active NHL players born in Florida. Oh, Shane Gostisbehere. What? I thought he was foreign. Is that racist? I don't know a lot of Gostisbeheres. I'm sorry. I thought he was from Norway or something. I don't know. Okay, the Hughes. Jacob Krychen. I don't. Cycrun. This is turning into me trying to pronounce names. Garnett Hathaway. Any relation to Anne? Ryan Carpenter. Any relation to Carrie? Andrew Peak. Brandon Duheim. I don't know who any of these guys are. Jason Magna. Who could forget him? I'm more just shocked that Shane Gostisbehere is on this list. I was not expecting an actual player on the Red Wings. Well, he's a free agent, or he will be a free agent, assuming we don't re-sign him. I'm just shocked by that. That actually surprised me. But okay, all right. I guess there's some players. It should include let's see, Quinn Hughes, Jack Hughes, but what about the other one? What about the other Hugh? The other Hughes is I don't know why it doesn't include him. What did he do? Maybe he's not born in Florida. I know he's the youngest, but I didn't know, Luke Hughes. Where's Luke? Where's Luke Hughes? Was he not born in Florida? Oh, he was not. He actually was. He was born in New Hampshire. Now hold on a second. Wait a minute. So Quinn Hughes is the oldest one. Now wait a minute. He was born in Orlando, Florida. Where did this guy grow up? Hold on a second. We're gonna find some nonsense. He went to Providence College. His mother played ice hockey. It doesn't say anything about where he lived. He was born in Orlando, Florida. Grandfather, blah blah. Comes from hockey playing family, blah 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 blah. Providence College. When did he move? He moved. They had to have moved. We know that they moved because Luke Hughes was born in New Hampshire. This is ridiculous. I'm gonna have to figure this out. We're gonna have to do some research here, boys. We're gonna have to do a lot of research. But all right. So we only got one more segment left of the show. Like I said, it was going to be a shorter show anyway. Sorry, it was slow news week, guys. I'm sorry. I don't control the flow of information. Not a lot happened. Other than the Celtics being the balls. Hold on, wait a minute. Where is it? There it
The
is.
Celtics are the balls.
Celtics are the balls. But speaking of a team that's not the balls, we got to talk about the Detroit Tigers. And it just feels like every time I got to talk about the Tigers, I just get a little depressed. Like I just get a little sad about it because it's not like they're so terrible, right? It's not like they are like embarrassingly bad like maybe last year or a couple of years ago. They're just so mid. Like they're just so uninteresting. There's nothing that I get from watching them. Other than like sometimes they'll pitch really well, I should say. Proper grammar is important, boys. Like they just don't do anything. Like their offense is terrible. They can't win series to save their life. Let me tell you all a stat. Tigers do one thing very consistently as of late, and that's lose series. They have won 3 series in the past 2 months. They started this season winning 5 series in the first month. You know, if they would have just won 5 series over the past 2 months, they might be above 500. They might. I actually don't like it. Depending on which series they win, they might actually be above 500. And depending on the nature of the series wins, because that includes sweeps, they might. And yet, they just can't do it. And it doesn't matter who they play. Last week, they lose 2 out of 3 to the Nationals, a team they're playing at home who is at least on their level. And they lose in mostly embarrassing fashion. And then they go on the road to play the Astros, a team that stinks. A team that's just straight up stinks. They're worse than you from a record standpoint. They're probably already thinking about selling off pieces. They're a team past their prime at this point. They're just kind of done, it seems like. Can't beat them. Despite the fact that you blow them out on Saturday 13-5, you then the next day lose 4-1. It's like there's no the Astros series to me is the epitome of Tiger baseball. First game, shutout, 4-0. Second game, 13-5. At one point, they were up like 10-0. Okay. Sunday, lose 1-4. I mean, like, why? Why do you even bother? Why? Like, why do we even attempt? Why do we even attempt some? Like, why do you give us life? Why do you do this? Okay, and like, I feel like I'm just going crazy. Okay, I want to say if you look ahead, and I'm not gonna do it anymore. I'm done with the look ahead and what can they do to get themselves out of it because I'm ready for disappointment. So and look at that, and they just let a ground ball reach because Gio Urshela and Mark Canha couldn't connect on a ground out, a routine play. And you know what? That'll probably be a run. And the way Casey Mize is pitching, and that's another bust. I mean, like, I hate to just go down the line of Tiger mistakes over the past decade, but this is a team that hasn't made the playoffs in a decade. And if you don't make the playoffs over a decade, especially in baseball, I mean, especially now, where now you got 6 teams making it every year, like, you have to have done a lot of things wrong. Namely, I mean, now they just get on a bunt. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. We're like live reacting to how this terrible baseball is. The Atlanta Braves, who are probably just going to sweep you. Like, that's a real baseball team. That's a real baseball team. And I don't get to watch a lot of real baseball because I only get to watch Tiger ball for the most part. So, again, I'm going to be looking forward to the playoffs when the Tigers inevitably don't make it. And I get to watch real baseball teams play. But all of this leads into something that I want to talk about, and it's the trade deadline. Now, I understand the trade deadline is over a month away. It's not until July 30th or 31st, the last day of July. So July 30th. Actually, it might be July 30th. Either way, end of July. And the thing is, last year, the Tigers, they were supposed to do a lot of things at the trade deadline. And by a lot of things, I mean trade Eduardo Rodriguez. And Scott Harris got bamboozled a little bit. I think most of it was on Erod. We talked about this on the show when it happened last year. But that happened. And unfortunately for Scott Harris, that's the only real experience we have with him at the deadline. You traded Michael Lorenzen for a bat that's playing okay in the minor leagues. I don't know if he's ever going to reach the major league level. But the thing that this team lacks and the thing that this team is incapable of doing is developing hitters. And that means you're going to have to trade some of these pitchers for bats. And that can be bats that are ready to play right now. That could be bats that are already developed, so to speak. But my fear is that there really isn't actually any true solution to the problem. Because say you trade the pitching and you get some bats. Well, your hitting development has already shown that hitters don't get better when they come here. If anything, they got worse than what they could end up being. You look at guys like Isaac Paredes. You look at guys like Willie Castro. And Willie Castro was an okay to bad hitter here in Detroit. He's found himself with a role, at least as a platoon guy with the Twins. You even see a guy like Joe Jimenez, who we traded to the Atlanta Braves last night. He was just throwing dots. Okay, he was just throwing just absolute bullets into the strike zone. And look, Joe Jimenez had some good years with Detroit. I got no problem with us trading him. But like, what did we even get from that? We got Justin Henry Malloy, who, frankly, as of right now, okay, limited sample size, stinks. Like, that was the big takeaway from that trade was Justin Henry Malloy, and he stinks. Like, he hasn't shown any major league ability. He's hit some home runs. Great. Super. I'd hope that a player who's playing at the major league level could hit one home run. Shout out to Spencer Torkelson. You know what? Just need to.
The Celtics are the balls.
I just need to remind myself just to stay safe. The Celtics are the balls. But they do still have pieces to sell. And this is going to be uncomfortable. And I'm not going to feel good about it. But I'm going to go down the list of the pitchers. And I suppose technically some of the hitters of guys that could be sold for pieces. I don't know if they will be good pieces. I don't even know if you have to trade any of these people. But I do think if the Tigers continue to lose series as they have, and right now, they're losing 2-0 to the Braves, chances to be even more. Casey Mize doesn't get out of this jam. More than likely going to lose another series against the Braves. You still have to go up against the Phillies next week. I would say that the White Sox is an easy win, but I don't even know about that at this point. I mean, that game's at home, over a weekend. People got to be feeling good, but you never know. So, going up and down the list, specifically of the pitchers. So, the top two guys I'd say that are talked about, Jack Flaherty, for one. He's probably the number one guy because he's on an expiring contract, just a one-year deal that we signed him to. He leads the team in strikeouts with 100 strikeouts. I mean, 100 strikeouts in 77 and 2/3 innings, but that is incredible. And he's got a 3.01 ERA, and honestly, that ERA could be even lower. He had a couple of nasty starts near the start of the season, but he really just picked it up to being. I mean, let's just say it as it is. He's one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball right now. Like, full stop. He's really good. I believe he leads the league in strikeouts, or at least is close to it. And he's certainly in the top of the charts in ERA and WHIP and batting average against. Like, he's a really good pitcher. Now, the only thing about him is that because he's on an expiring deal, teams might not necessarily be willing to give you massive hauls for him. However, teams do get desperate. And teams that need starting pitching, you look at the New York Yankees, you look at even the Atlanta Braves. I mean, like, they could use some pitching. I mean, they lost Spencer Strider for the season. I'm sure they would enjoy Jack Flaherty for a playoff run. For the Philadelphia Phillies. Hey, the thing is, you're never gonna be short on pitching, right? Like, even if Jack Flaherty, I mean, short of you already having a 5-man rotation that's elite, which good luck, because that's not easy to find. You can always get an upgrade in the starting pitching department, especially when you're talking about playoff runs. And hey, if you want to throw Jack Flaherty in your bullpen, like, talk about elite stuff out of the bullpen. But anyway, Jack Flaherty is probably like the most obvious. You got to trade this guy. Full stop. And I like Jack Flaherty. He's been fantastic for us this year. fun pitcher to watch, just strikeout pitcher. Those are always fun. But team isn't good enough. And it sucks. I hate talking about selling, but it is what it is. The other one that's a lot more controversial is, of course, Tarek Skubal. Now, Tarek Skubal, the reason I will give you the reasons you don't trade him and the reasons you do trade him. Reasons you don't trade him is because he's under your control. He's not in a contract year. You still got a couple of years before you have to pay him to begin with. And on top of that, he might be the best pitcher in baseball. I made the video last week. I went over the stats. I'm willing to say he's the best pitcher in baseball. Full stop. I think he is the best. I think he's one of, if not the lowest in ERA. I'd want to say he's the highest in WAR. His batting average against is 197. Just looking at his stats here on MLB.com, like it's insane. He's already pitched 86 innings, 98 strikeouts. It's again over a strikeout an inning. He's been fantastic. Full disclosure, obviously being a Tiger fan, but he's been fantastic. And you don't have this kind of player all the time. You don't always get your hands on a Justin Verlander, on a Randy Johnson, on a Max Scherzer, on a John Smoltz. You don't always get those kind of pitchers every so often. So you take him, you build a roster around him so that every 5 games you got a victory. And basically, since he's been pitching, short of a couple of days ago against the Astros, basically when he starts, we win the game. So that puts us in situations to win series because you start any given series, or you have any given series where Tarek Skubal is starting, you have to win one extra game, which granted the Tigers have struggled at. Once again, I just have to remind myself to stay out of the depression.
The Celtics are the balls.
Celtics are the balls. I'm never going to get tired of that drop until next year, until next NBA season starts, when, it'll be unknown whether or not the Celtics are the balls. We're going to have fun with that. And it's funny because I'm a Pistons fan. You think I'd hate them. Anyway, I don't want to get too distracted. Reese Olson is another one. He just had a really good start last night against the Braves, which was well needed. He kind of had been struggling his last couple of outings. He's our third best pitcher, but frankly, for a lot of teams, he could be their best pitcher. He's young. He's controllable. He's, if not an ace, a second or third great starter on a playoff team. And he's a guy that, you can throw in an elimination game. Well, maybe not. Honestly, yeah. You know what? Yeah, why not? You could throw him in on an elimination game, and he could probably pitch you a solid game. He could keep you in it. And he's obviously young. His record is not good, but that's because the team around him is just not giving him a lot of run support. And you could see it in the stats if you look around at the league and run supports. He's one of the worst pitchers at getting run support. So you throw him on a team like, say, the Braves or the Dodgers or the Yankees, teams that get a lot of runs, and suddenly his numbers are going to go up, at least from a win-loss perspective. But 69 strikeouts, 77 innings pitched, 246 opponent average, 123 whip, 339 ERA. And again, some of those numbers are a little inflated as of late because he had a couple of bad starts in there. But he is a really good pitcher. And honestly, maybe a team like the Brewers could use him. And what's funny is because we actually got him from the Brewers originally. So there is that relationship with Milwaukee. And hey, Milwaukee's a pitching farm, and they emphasize pitching. And I'm sure they would not be opposed to adding another arm in their lineup. From the bullpen side, it's a little tough because you got a lot of inconsistency from varying levels. Probably the best guy out of the bullpen is going to be Jason Foley. He's got a sub-3 ERA, 21 Ks and 25 2/3 innings pitched. Given up, he's got a 245 opponent average, 129 whip. Like, he's a solid pitcher. He can pitch you late in games. He can keep you in games. He's got, high velocity fastball. Again, pitchers are, especially in the bullpen, they are those big pieces that teams will go desperate for. And Jason Foley is one of the good ones. More than just one of the good ones, he's one of the really good ones. Outside of Jason Foley, Andrew Chafin, maybe. I don't know how people feel about him. He's a little inconsistent, if you ask me. Tyler Holton, he's another one. He's a young, controllable player, and obviously a solid bullpen arm. Alex Faedo's been okay. He's been decent. You might be able to get with Joey Wentz, but his ERA is really high, so I don't anticipate him being on the move anytime soon. But yeah, so from a pitching standpoint, they got a lot of guys they can use or they can sell. From a hitting standpoint, we got basically like two. Okay. Number one is going to be probably Mark Canha. I don't know what his deal is, but I mean, he's a utility veteran player, plays multiple parts of the field. He can play first base. He can play the outfield. 730 OPS, 248 average. He's old. You don't have to really worry about having to pay the guy. So there's that. Matt Vierling might be an interesting one. The Tigers traded for Matt Vierling from Philly. And Matt Vierling, I believe he's got playoff experience with Philly. So he's not some total slouch. I actually do like Matt Vierling as a player. I think he's pretty decent. He's got 9 home runs on the year, 52, or I'm sorry, not 52 RBIs, 30 RBIs, 52 strikeouts, which is not great. But, he's a utility player as well. You can throw him a lot of parts of the field. He's listed as a third baseman, but he can play the outfield. He can play infield, third base, second. I don't know if he can play second, but he can play first base. So infield corners, you can play him. Heck, you can throw him as a DH. I don't know. Do whatever you want. He can come in as a pinch hitter. He can be solid in that regard. 742 OPS for him. Outside of that, maybe Gio Urshela. Gio Urshela's had a pretty decently high average. He's another guy on an expiring deal, just a 1-year contract. I'm sure teams who want a solid defender and a above average bat, just a slap hitter, I'm sure teams might be interested in that, but I don't know how much you're going to get from them. So in that depressing way, this is your Detroit Tigers. Once again on the selling block of the trade deadline, and once again with a terrible offense. So let this be a lesson for people. Let this be a lesson for Tigers fans especially. When you have a season where your offense is in the bottom third in basically every important offensive statistical category, and you do basically nothing to change that offense, you are not going to be a good team. Shocking revelation, I know. I had to explain this to many Tiger fans over the offseason, but they didn't want to listen, and hey, guess who was right? Guy who used a little bit of common sense. So, yeah, fun stuff. So, with that, that's where we're going to wrap up the show. So, a little bit of a shorter show, like I said, but still enjoyable. I mean, it was about an hour, so we had some fun. Talk some Jerry West. That was fun. That was enjoyable. And then we of course found out today that
The Celtics are the balls.
we didn't find it out today. We found it out yesterday. The Celtics are the balls, but it's pretty simple.
No more.
I'm never getting okay. We're the Celtics will be the balls until the Celtics stop being the balls.
The Celtics are the balls.
We did it! Gosh, it's like painful to listen to. It really. He wants to be Kevin Garnett so bad, man. He really does. But with that, we're gonna head out. This will be the end of the show for tonight. We will be back next week. So here's the thing. The trade deadline. The NBA draft is next Thursday, I believe. As of right now, I don't think I have anything that would stop me. I want to say we will be able to go live for that draft. I'll see if Seth is available. That'd be cool. We'll do a live reaction with the two of us. As far as show notes in the future, potentially NBA draft live reaction. It might be very sad because I will be like, I don't know who Spadugi Bababu is out of the Euro League playing for Latvia or whatever.
The Celtics are the balls.
The Celtics are the balls. With that though, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. We'll be back next week. talking sports ball, talking all things sports as Matt Vierling grounds out. That's wonderful. Have a good night, everybody, and I'll see you guys later. See you later. Goodbye. Good night. Goodbye.